Welcome. Hey, everybody. I guess I'm just sitting here staring at the camera, making sure it's on. But this live is for everyone who has Chiron in the 12th house or Chiron conjunct Neptune or um, any type of combinations that involve your Chiron. It could be a Chiron opposition to Neptune or anything like that. Um, I wanted to start off because Chiron in the 12th house is so close to the actual energy of being in the incarnation of Chiron himself. We can actually read the mythology and you will probably be able to relate to and see yourself in the story um, even more so than anyone else that has this aspect. So let's take a look. There's a lot to be said about Chiron as an incarnation. He was the wisest centaur. Centaurs are known to be wild creatures. Think of a wild centaur, Sagittarius, drinking freely in the woods, having a good time and partying. That's the reputation that centaurs have. And Chiron was actually a centaur that was known for the exact opposite. He spent a lot of his time and a lot of his hours studying and teaching other people. And this was before he got shot with poison. Before Chiron got shot with poison by Hercules, he he spent a lot of time teaching other people, and people would brag to other people about what they learned from Chiron. They would be like, Chiron is the best healer. He's the best teacher in the whole world, and he just. I'm sorry. I'm looking up this mythology so we can read it. Oftentimes when you are incarnation of a particular energy, if you read the mythology, you can figure out the puzzle of what you're supposed to do. Now, even I had a hard time with this because there was nothing. The thing about Chiron in general in everyone's chart is that there's nothing that can be done to stop the wound from taking over in your life. It's an accident. Like it was just kind of like a fluke accident. It was like circumstance who he was hanging around. He was hanging out with Phallus. Phallus is also a centaur. And Phallus, well, he wasn't hanging out with Phallus. Hercules was hanging out with Phallus. And Hercules was like, yo, give me some of that wine or whatever that you got. And Phallus was like, I shouldn't give it to you because I'm supposed to be sharing it with the other centaurs. And somehow Phallus got kind of talked into giving away something that did not really belong to him. And Phallus in your astrology chart is a part of your chart where you shoot yourself in the foot. And Phallus definitely got somebody else shot in the foot, and that would be Chiron. And Chiron got shot in the foot by Hercules' arrow because he was in the cave with the other centaurs that he was shooting up. Because centaurs came out and to fight Hercules because they smelled the wine that Phallus opened up. They were like, who's opening up our shit? Like, who has the nerve to open up our wine? Who has the nerve to like party without us? You know? And Hercules was like, it's me, and what y'all gonna do about it? And so he began to like pop off and like shoot people with his very poisonous arrows. Um, and in the midst of helping somebody else heal, Chiron gets shot in the foot. Now, different stories say different things. Some stories say that Hercules shoots his shot at another person. The arrow breaks, goes through, and shoots Chiron. Some say that um, um, Hercules was in the cave, and Chiron was helping heal one of his wounds, and the arrow accidentally dropped. It doesn't matter. Either way, the wound is an accident. Now, if you mix that with like 12th house energy, Neptune energy is about surrender. It's about allowing the mother, the goddess, to take over whatever part of your energy that is connected to it and becoming one with it. So you're supposed to allow universal energy to heal you. Instead, what happens is you become enmeshed and associated with universal wounds. And it's like you think that you're supposed to take on everybody's wounds for them and become like a sacrificial lamb. You allow other people to make you believe that it's your responsibility and it's your fault somehow, that you're that to take on their wounds, and also that they wound you. And so you're in relationship with other people, you tend to switch places with people. If someone has a wound around you, they're able to manipulate you into believing that it's your wound that needs to be healed when it's actually theirs. If you can find a way to maybe go into like an isolation tank and really face what your particular wound is and get rid of everyone else's wound, then you could be a universal symbol of how to surrender your wounds to spirit, instead of um, a symbol of kind of like hiding. You have to always hide away in a cave because you're so wounded, because Chiron lived in a cave, and people would come to him to study his special elixirs and his potions, and um, so it says Chiron was the most important centaur in Greek mythology, famous for his teaching ability. So it's not just his healing ability that he's famous for; it's his teaching ability. And so you are to teach the world about wounds and how to handle these wounds. What wounds are, like everything about. Mm, every everything you know all too well everything about wounds, how they happen, why they happen, where they sit in the body, how people are to face their wounds, but instead you end up um, wounded all the time, so you don't really get to teach. If you could focus on the teaching instead of trying to fix, because you can't really fix this. Okay? He was the son of the Titan god Cronus and the nymph Philre. Although centaurs had the upper body of a man and the lower body of a horse, Chiron's front legs were also human, showing that he was different and in a higher class than the rest. Um, like I was saying before, people might try to put you in a category and categories that don't belong to you, but belongs to them. And so because you're already in pain, you feel like it's your responsibility. You're like, oh well, I might as well just take on this trash. But you're not trash though. You're actually a very high class being that deserves a lot of honor and respect for what you know and what you have to offer. And I kind of glimpsed at what other astrologers say about Chiron in the 12th house, and I honestly don't like it. I honestly feel like people aren't really understanding that Chiron is a very highly respected being. with a lot of knowledge, more knowledge than most, and it's very generous actually. Gave away a lot of knowledge and teachings for free. So maybe you could start charging and maybe make courses, or maybe because you're the teacher of all teachers, basically. And you don't really have to spend all of your life taking on other people's wounds the way you do. Does that make sense for the two people that are watching? Both son, I am absorbing everybody. I live across from a hospital. Should I move? Ooh, good God Almighty. Um, are you are you using this as a case study, or are you is it killing you? You know, because I mean, I would ask you because you're a scientist type person, you know, and you are you collecting information, or are you like dying inside because of what you're absorbing? That's what I would ask. Um, Other differences between Chiron and his brethren were that he was far more civilized in nature, not indulging in drinking and becoming overcome with lust. He had superior knowledge, and he had a different lineage to the other centaurs, who were created by the union of Exion and Nephil. Now, I have never read that before. I don't know. I have to read that. That sounds interesting. He lived on Mount Pelion with his consort, the nymph Chariclo, with whom he had three daughters, Hip, Indies, and Ocryho, as well as a son, Carystus. His students included famous heroes and gods of the Greek myths, such as Asclepius, Ajax, Achilles heel, Theseus, Jason, Peleus, Perseus, and even Hercules and Phoenix. His death was the result of event that started when Hercules visited the centaur Pholas in his cave while trying to complete the fourth described task in the labors of Hercules. The two individuals had supper, and Hercules asked for wine. Pholus opened a bottle of sacred wine given to him by Dionysus, but the smell attracted the other centaurs from the nearby area. The centaurs attacked in an effort to take the wine, but Hercules killed many of them using poison arrows. One of those arrows hit Chiron by mistake. Chiron was immortal and could not die, but the poison caused unbearable pain to him. So he happily gave up his immortality in exchange for his Prometheus freedom when he was asked to do so by Hercules. Chiron then took a space on Mount Olympus along with the gods. So that means that Chiron, because he was in so much pain, he wanted to die. And in other mythologies that I read, the other stories that I've read, is it says that the power he saw dying as a power because he could not die. He was in so much dire and so much he was suffering so much that he saw death as a power. That's interesting, you know. And so I would understand that for you guys as you needing to transform and transition from the experience of suffering, and how you would do that is, I feel like I am collecting data. I have been documenting everything from my Leslie. I'm writing a book. Yeah, I know you are. I know that's how your mind is. If you have Chiron in the 12th house, then anything that you're going through, any wounds that you encounter from other people, you are collecting data. You are trying to figure out how to help other people with the same thing, because that's what Chiron does. But what I'm saying is that you don't have to suffer as much as you think you do. You can actually like let go more so than you hold on. Do you guys have an issue with holding on to more of the energy than you should, as if you're the one that has the power to transmute the energy, or do you give it up to spirit? Because that Neptune energy is supposed to teach you how to give it up, give up the fight, give up the wounds. 2 weeks. I'm writing a book. I feel like I'm being reborn. Yeah, and so in reading that story, you can end your suffering if you allow yourself to die. If you give up kind of like, or sacrifice yourself in a sense, because Neptune is about sacrifice. If you give up wanting to be associated with the wound and the identity of being a wound, I'm so hurt. Oh, I'm so hurt. If you're willing to give that the pain up and the story that goes along with the pain, then you won't have to suffer. Because are you guys looking to be absolved from your suffering, or are you looking to just understand it and learn how to live with it? Do you feel like you're going to be wounded forever? And the reason why I'm asking these types of questions is because I'm doing it live. For anybody who watches this back later, I'm asking. Do you want to let go of the pain? What comes up for you if someone were to ask you to give up the suffering and to give up the story? Do you panic? Do you feel like that's part of your identity? Do you know who you would be if you weren't um, a wounded person? And maybe those are questions that you could ask in your own journaling time. And it doesn't really say that Chiron really blamed anybody for his pain. It doesn't say that Chiron had like a pity party about it. It looks like he just, kind of did what he had to do in order to um, get taken up out of here. He was like, gotta go, gotta go, leaving. Here, take my life. Yeah, I can tell those are really deep questions. But if but if you truly would like to live pain free, you can honestly give up the story that you are this crazy wounded person that can never be healed and can never feel better, you know, um, and you can stop taking on these case studies to where you're absorbing other people's pain all the time. You can stop watching the news. You can stop just kind of just I can see your nervous system just really being filled with fear and like being filled with like oh and just and then and growing up with this aspect as well. Did your mom or your dad have Munchausen syndrome to where other people told you were sick even if you weren't? Like, did you have people messing with you psychologically? And that way, I also get the sense of that growing up for you, somebody around you was like terrified of life, or always sick, or always wounded, and you having compassion and empathy, or maybe even being made to feel like it was your responsibility and your burden to take on and heal this person. And maybe you couldn't, there was nothing you can do to heal that person, because Chiron would be about having unsuccessful and mind control. I'm going to ponder on those questions. It's a social engineer. What do you mean by that? It's social engineering and mind control. Franny, is that how you feel as a individual? Like you feel like you have to take on other people's? I think I understand what you're saying because I'm actually in Peru right now. For those of you who don't know, well, we are all under in modern day slavery. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're in the streets and grandma was verbally abused in front of me. I was just a kid. They took our birthrights. They make the bad guys look good. Okay. So yeah, so that would be um an energy that you're absorbing and taking responsibility for because you feel like you have to. And okay, so I was saying this. I'm in Peru right now. And even if when I'm not out of the country, I don't have a TV in my house. I don't I don't overly indoctrinate myself with news and with advertisements and with and see with this aspect it will make you feel like you don't have a choice, like it's something's being forced upon you, and that's where you would have to make some I am a royal. They took my nationality and have me in royal death brackets and have had me under a satanic ritual abuse. I don't watch TV either, but technologies. Oh, okay. So that is very Chiron because Chiron was set apart by society, set apart by his royalty. Okay. Yes, human trafficking is very real, and slavery is very real. And so, yeah, I don't take any of those anything that and tied to an abuse of all kinds. Yes. So yeah, I don't take anybody's mental health or childhood trauma for granted. And thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. And I hope that um, you it's all around me targeting and gang stalking make it hard to get out. Okay. Okay. I can relate. I can relate to being stalked and having mind control as a child, and I had to really fight for my life and for my survival. And when I got away, because I was stalked by my narcissistic mother when I tried to get away from her and my family dynamics, and when she would not leave me alone, I went to a silent meditation retreat like Vespassana Center where you can stay. Sometimes you can live. I actually wanted to live there, but yeah, I stayed maybe a couple of times and I decided not to live there. But I had to run away from people who would not did not want me to be free, and you have to be just as aggressive um, in taking your freedom and leaving sometimes everything behind so that you can um, get your mind back and take your soul back and take your spirit back, which is why I got into trauma healing in the first place. They have me chipped and technologies in me. That's very Chiron. That's very Chiron. Mhm. Mhm. And so what you would need to do, or anyone else that's suffering in any similar way, is go through really deep uh, purifications and separating yourself from society and going into remote places, like I was saying before, where you can be in deep meditation, because the power of God and the power of spirit, the power of the goddess, and the power of being connected to um, the power of being connected to source is more powerful than anything that anybody can do to you, say to you. But sometimes you do have to fight for your life in these types of controlling systems. Okay? So I don't think anything's impossible. If you, girl, if you have to go to Nepal and go to the Himalayan mountains and live like a monk, then go and go find your health and go find your safety. Take as extreme measures as your illness to free yourself and to heal yourself. Ooh, what time is it? Okay. So yeah, I grew up in a family where there's sexual incest and people being raped by my grandfather and all types of dark things because of people messing around with dark energies and dark entities. And it's possible to free yourself. You just have to stay down with your process and go where you need to go in order to free yourself and have safety, and make sure that you get the healing that you need, whether you have money or not. Because there have been times I had to run away with nothing. And then when I ran away, people tried to take advantage of me because I had nothing. And they thought that I was just going to give in to maybe their like sexual whims. And I never did. I never did. And eventually you get strong. But it has to be like something that you want more than you care about how you look in society, how you how what people think, because people don't know what the hell you're going through and how you're feeling, you know. And our society is fake and it's really not set up for people who don't feel good, you know. um, so you have to, when you ask for when you ask for things from spirit, you will find it, you know. There are places and there are people and there are um, um, resources that can help you, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there to find it. And rarely do I get to talk about such ugly things. Um, but I'm thankful that you guys are open and that you guys are willing to share, because I've been through similar things and I've had to break free from dark entities and stuff in my family. I often call my family the ghost mafia because of the energies that I've had to fight, because I didn't want to be like my grandfather or like my dad. And there's so much violence, so much pain. My Chiron is in opposition to like all my other planets. I have a handle chart. There's like, here's my other planets right here. I have a stellium, and then I have Chiron as a bucket. And so everything that I have gone through in my life, I'm supposed to use it to help other people heal and teach people and give people knowledge. But I had to suffer greatly in order to have an understanding of and compassion for humans, and for what with what money I would love. to I can't get away. I don't know, honey. You know, you honestly will have to dig deep and like talk to your guides. All of us here on planet Earth um have our lot in our karma this lifetime. And whatever you feel like you need to do, it's okay. You know, maybe you and maybe other people feel like, you know, they can't. It's a repeat on repeat. I can't do this, I can't do that. I don't know what to do. I can't leave, I can't move. Get out the house and start talking to people. Yell for help. If you're in the basement somewhere and someone has and you see a little air or a little hole out the window, take that as an opportunity. I don't know. That's how I was when I wanted. I mean, I remember when my mom started stalking me because nobody believes you about any of these things. I remember when my mom started stalking me. And I called my family and my dad, and they're like, "You're going to leave your job. You're going to leave everything that you worked hard for." And I'm like, I can't handle it. I can't handle seeing this woman pop up at my job like like we're best friends every day, and I told her to leave me the hell alone, and I never want to see her again because that's how much suffering she put me through as a child, you know. um I just couldn't handle it. So I did run away. I ran. I left everything. I went to the silent meditation retreats are free, just to let you know. And they're not open right now because since I'm in Peru, they're all over the world actually. I was looking it up here in Peru. That's how I know they're closed um, because of the quarantine, but they're free to go to, and you can stay and volunteer, and it does purify your consciousness. I believe that if you have I feel like we can all be chipped at this point because we've all been vaccinated at a young age. But I also believe in the power of the human body, and that if something is foreign inside of your body, it could be eliminated. You you can anything is possible if you're able to get yourself to a place where you can hone in on source, you and spirit, you and God. There's nothing more powerful than the intelligence that you have in your being. You guys are Chiron incarnated himself. You know that. So don't allow other people or other entities on the outside of you to take away your freedom of choice on whether and how you transform that into something else. Any other comments or questions? Wow, that's amazing. Thank you to Secret Balance for offering to help Miss Fran in the situation that she's in. That's beautiful. Yes, you are. We all are. And it takes a lot of practice and focus and discipline. I want you to go someplace where you can really focus and that's for anybody who's in any situation. I mean, I've been homeless. I have done what I have to do Yes, you're big. You're amazingly bigger than any pain and suffering that you've been through, and you have testimony. You have everybody has it within them to be as disciplined as your pain. You know, when I have been in the deepest emotional suffering and pain, like during the first parts of my awakening process, when I was breaking free from my family, that's I was in so much pain. Like I could feel my consciousness, the skull of my consciousness crack open. Like I could literally hear it when it was happening because I decided to ask questions like what has made me in the situation I was in with a vampiric energy of a boyfriend, you know, that I felt like was going to beat me if I stayed with him. I didn't see myself as a type of person or the type of being that would attract somebody like that. And so I asked God, like, what made him attracted to me and me attracted to him, and my consciousness cracked open, and I saw all the truth about all the pain and suffering that I had been through in my life, and maybe even past lives and stuff too. And all I could do was like break down, and I couldn't move for a long time. Maybe I know I mourned and I cried and grieved for every day for like a year, you know, feeling that pain. And yeah. And so I decided that I wanted to heal more than I wanted anything else in the world. And I lost everything because my family is the type of family that's like, if you do what we say, then we'll pay for everything, right? So all of my brothers and sisters are getting everything paid for, and as long as they are compliant to the narc in the family, you know, the mob boss, basically. And I'm being hunted like prey, and my siblings are the flying monkeys who basically tell my mother where I am. So I end up having to cut every my whole family off for like 7 whole years until I was able to arrive at a natural protection and autonomy, spiritual autonomy in my system, in my energy. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of I've been trying not to diagnose them. It's not a diagnosis. It's an experience. When if you've had the experience with someone to where you don't matter and only they matter, and you know everything you do is wrong, everything, even if it's not wrong, and what's up is down and what's down is up, and there's gaslighting and there's violence and consequences for standing up for the truth and being who you are, then that's an experience. That's not a diagnosis. At that point, you're experiencing them. There's nothing wrong with calling a thing when you're in a situation. It's the only way to get out of the situation is to be honest about what it is you're going through, to call it out for what it is, and because that's what's going to rev you up. That's what's going to enrage you. Rage is actually good because it'll help you understand where your boundaries are, and that your life is you're worthy of life. Rage is like this primitive energy that tells you that I'm worthy of life and I'm willing to stand up and fight for my life. And so it's needed. And so I would think that Chiron in the 12th house would make you feel like maybe I need to stay and help people heal more than let me get out of this situation so that I can have a chance at my own life. So my question is to sis here that has that's in trouble right now with what it seems like thugs and the cops and um, brain brain manipulation and stuff like that. Are you willing to leave? Are you if so, because I saw someone offer you a helping hand, you know, are you willing to leave and start over and be someplace else? Or that's a question. Because I don't want people to get involved if, you know, you're not ready for people to get involved. So do you need somebody to make a phone call? Oh, okay. So you feel like you being in this situation. See, this is very Chiron in the 12th house. You feel like you being in this situation is going to help humanity. Sis, if you get out of this situation, I had a friend go to a detective. If you get out of this situation alive and you are able to tell your story, it will help humanity. But it won't help humanity if you stay there and suffer. You've already suffered enough. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I will respect your wishes and ask that everyone else respect your wishes as well. That because you feel like it's not really time. Right. I feel the same way, but I'm going to respect where you're at right now, Miss Fran, because um you are more empowered in this situation than you realize, and you need to know that, and you need to learn that. You need to learn that the choices that you make um are your choices, and that's the power you have. And so I'm going to respect you when you say that you don't really want people to get involved. And I ask that everybody else respect that as well. Just respect her wishes. But we're praying for you, and we want you to know that um, from our perspective, from anyone else's perspective, um, you should leave and let everyone um, go through what let God take care of it, and then you tell your story away from this situation. I don't. Okay. Okay. You're a wise being, and I respect your wishes. And when it's the right time, you'll leave and you'll set yourself free. But that's really hard to hear. Just to let you know, for people who have empathy and who care. That's hard to stomach. That's really hard.
According to Greater Good Science Center, UC Berkeley.
I pray for all your suffering to end, and that you be held by the archangels, and that you be set free, and that you're able to tell the story that you want to tell, so that other people can be set free, just as you dream. Okay. Anybody else have anything else they would like to share? Because of course I believe that. I understand. I know that when there's great suffering, there's great light. It's always the opposite. All of us, you know, that suffer greatly, that's it's kind of like pulling back the rubber band as far as it could go into the darkness, and then one day you're not going to be able to take anymore, and it's going to shoot off into the other end. And so that's the universe. That's the game the universe plays when it comes to balance and lessons. And so that's why I'm not freaking out, sis. I have suffered too, not not just in this lifetime, but in past lives. And so I'm not really here to feel sorry for you or anybody else. I'm here to let you know that you are empowered, because that's the only way you're going to relieve yourself, when you realize that. When you realize I'm not a victim, even though part of the healing process is allowing yourself to be in the victim consciousness and grieve and feel that, so that you can have compassion for others. Because there's no point of being like, you're not a victim. It's not like that. There is an experience of being victimized here. Yeah, I had to go through that, of feeling like so you have to feel it. You have to go through the process and the stages of sometimes the lowest level of being a victim, to finding yourself empowered step by step up the ladder. And then you reach back and you grab other people, you know, and you become a resource for others in servitude to spirit. So go, I salute you, soldier, on your journey. Whenever you can call on the angels whenever you want this to be over with. And that goes for any one of you as well when it comes to Chiron in the 12th house. Whenever you want the suffering to be over, it can be over. It can be transmuted. Peace.